Hey friends, happy Sunday and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. I've got a whole week of dinners to share with you today. Most of the stuff is really easy and not new. I'm just trying to kind of work through what we have on hand to kind of help us save money. But I did try one new meal this week. It wasn't like a recipe I found online or anything. It was just something I kind of made up. So I can't wait to share that with you. Now let's go ahead and get into this week's What's for Dinner. We started off the week with chili mac. I had some chili in the freezer that I pulled out. And I'm going to start off by making my macaroni, and I do that in my Instant Pot. I do 4 cups of water and then 4 cups of elbow pasta. And then you can season this however you like. I like to add in some chicken bouillon, some pepper, paprika, dry mustard, and garlic powder. And then I do about a tablespoon of butter. Give that a little stir, and then I put a lid on this and cook this on manual high pressure for 5 minutes. And then after the 5 minutes, you just want to do a quick release. Once all the pressure has been released, then you can take off the lid and stir up the pasta. As you can see, there's like no liquid left and the pasta is cooked perfectly. And then all you have to do is add in some milk and some cheese. You want to do a little bit at a time. So you can just keep adding it until you get it how you want it. I did a little bit of mozzarella cheese, some cheddar cheese, and then I also threw in a couple slices of American cheese just for the taste. I like the taste of American cheese, especially in like chili mac. I feel like it just adds a nice flavor in there. And then once I had the cheese pretty much all worked in, I'm going to add in my chili. This is just a bag of chili that I had in the freezer from probably the last time I made chili in the crock pot. It's probably like 1.5 to 2 cups of chili. I heated it up in the microwave so that it was hot going into the macaroni. And then I just stirred it in there, and then once it was all combined, it was ready to eat. This is one of my favorite ways to use up leftover chili. It's quick and easy and filling, and my family loves it. Saturday night we had chicken and then this spinach and artichoke dip pasta thing. This is very similar to the TikTok feta pasta. You're just changing one thing and not doing feta. So in a big casserole dish, I have some grape tomatoes, and I am drizzling those with some olive oil and then seasoning them all over with some onion salt, salt and pepper, garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and red pepper flakes. And then I gave those a good toss, got them all coated well. And then in the center, I am adding this frozen spinach and artichoke dip from Trader Joe's. So if you wanted to do the feta pasta, you'd add the feta in the middle, but this spinach and artichoke dip is really good in it too. We like it both ways. A lot of people do the Boursin cheese, and I have yet to try that, but this one is really good. And then I put that in the oven on 425 for 45 minutes. And while it was cooking, I cooked up a package of pasta, just a fun shaped pasta, whatever kind you like. And then when it came out of the oven, I had reserved some of that pasta water, and I'm going to use that to mix up the sauce. You're just going to go in and smash up all those tomatoes and mix it with the spinach and artichoke dip and that pasta water, and just mix it together really well until it's nice and combined. And then you can toss in your pasta and again mix that together really well. I always like to serve these pastas with chicken on the side most of the time, so that is what I'm doing. I've got some thinly sliced chicken breast here, and I'm seasoning it all over with some paprika, garlic powder, onion salt, Italian seasoning, and salt and pepper. And then in my large skillet, I'm heating up some olive oil and butter, and once that's hot, I'm going to add in my chicken. I did the seasoning on one side, and then I put it in the pan with that seasoning side down. I'm going to go ahead and season the other side, and then I usually like to cook this for like 4 to 5 minutes. Flip it over, do the same thing on the other side, and then because these are thinly sliced, they're usually done at that point. But if not, you just want to cover it with a lid, maybe turn the heat down a little bit, and continue to cook until your chicken is all the way done. And then I just serve this chicken sliced up on top of the pasta, and it is delicious. Sunday night we had spaghetti, so I cooked up some Italian sausage and then added some marinara sauce to it, cooked up some spaghetti noodles and then some garlic bread, and we just had spaghetti. Me and Andy actually weren't hungry at this time, so the kids were the only ones to eat. And I was actually supposed to make spaghetti squash this night, but I completely forgot. Monday night, again, I was using stuff from my freezer, so I made ham fried rice. So I'm starting off here with a bag of ham that I had in the freezer from Christmas that I thawed out, and I'm just going to put that in my skillet over like a medium heat and let it kind of brown up a little bit and get warmed through. And then once I'm satisfied with that, about 5 minutes or so is how long I cooked it, I just removed it from the pan, and then I'm just going to start cooking my fried rice like normal. So I add in a little bit of vegetable oil and some sesame oil and get that hot. It didn't take long since my pan was already hot. And then I add in my cold white rice. I think having cold white rice is like very important for making fried rice. Usually I don't like to make things ahead of time, but I feel like your fried rice turns out better when it's cold. So I kind of toss that in that oil, and then I'm going to start seasoning it up with some salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. I don't do too much of the salt because we are going to be adding soy sauce to this, but I do add a little bit since the rice is just plain. Again, toss that around a little bit, and then I'm going to start adding my soy sauce, and then I do a little tiny bit of oyster sauce and a little tiny bit of hoisin sauce. Both of those are kind of sweet, so I don't do too much of them. And again, just stir that around really well, make sure everything gets nice and coated, and then I'm going to push all of my rice to one side of the pan so I can kind of steam my mixed veggies. I'm doing about half of a bag of frozen mixed veggies. I'm going to put those over there with some soy sauce and then put a lid on this and let them just kind of steam off to the side for like 3 to 4 minutes. And then I'll take the lid back off and mix the veggies in with the rice completely. Once they're all mixed in, then I'll push the rice to the side again, and I'm going to add in a little pat of butter to cook up my eggs. I usually do like 4 or 5 eggs. I scramble them with a little bit of salt and pepper, and then I add them to that half of the pan that doesn't have any rice. Put a lid on it, let this cook for a couple minutes, take the lid off, scramble them. I like to make sure my eggs are pretty much all the way fully cooked before mixing it in with the rice, because I feel like if you mix it in too soon, then the egg just kind of like coats the rice, and I don't like that texture. I prefer my eggs to be like mostly done before I mix them in. So once I have the eggs mixed in, then I can add back in my ham or whatever meat you're using. I do the same thing for chicken fried rice or shrimp fried rice, whatever. It's all the same fried rice. This is the recipe that I make. And then you can add some more soy sauce if you need it, whatever you like. And that's it. That's how I make my easy fried rice. And it is delicious every single time. Tuesday night, this is the meal that I just kind of made up. It's some pork chops and potatoes and green beans. I knew I had some cans of whole potatoes that I wanted to use, and so I combined 2 cans of drained whole potatoes with 2 cans of green beans, one of which I drained, one of which I did not. Combined that in a casserole dish with half of a packet of ranch seasoning and half of a packet of Italian dressing mix, and then a little bit of salt and pepper, and just mix that together really well so everything was coated. And then I kind of like left the green beans on the bottom and moved the potatoes like around to the edges so I would have room in the middle to put the pork chops on top. These are just some thinly sliced pork chops, and then I'm going to use those packets of seasoning on the top of these. I think if I make this again, I will make sure I season both sides of the pork chops. Otherwise, this was good. It was just a little bit too much seasoning on top of one piece of pork. So I would either add more of the seasoning into the green beans and potatoes, or just use less, or just kind of evenly distribute it on either side of the pork chops. So I got those on there with the rest of those seasoning packets, and then I took half of a stick of butter and sliced it up into thin slices and just arranged that around everything in the pan, and then put this in the oven on 375 for about 35 minutes. And then I just wanted to check and make sure that my pork was done after that, and it was. And then I just served this on top of some rice. I made this in the Instant Pot with some chicken bouillon and can of cream of chicken soup. It was just like so random, and I was throwing it together, but everybody seemed to like it. So when I make it again, I will probably show you guys how I made that rice as well. But this was easy stuff I had on hand, used up some pantry items, and it was pretty good. Wednesday night we had Sloppy Joes, which I always make the Pioneer Woman recipe, so I will have that linked down below for y'all. I have a video where I've made it like step by step, but then I'll just also have her original recipe linked down below. I always cut it in half because it calls for 2 pounds of Sloppy Joes, and we just don't need that much as a family of 4. And then to go with it, we had some little tater tots, and also I made spaghetti squash tots, which you saw a glimpse of that in the vlog if you watched the vlog. But I decided not to share in depth how I made that. I did film it, but I just don't feel like it's worth my time to show it to you because they were just okay. Like the amount of work that they were, and then they didn't turn out how I expected. I expected them to be crispier, and maybe that's my fault. Maybe I didn't wring out the squash as much as I should have, but I will link the recipe that I was following down below if you're interested in trying it yourself. And in the future, I might make another one or a different recipe and give something else a go, but these were just not really a hit. I ate them, but Lily didn't love them. Elijah touched it to his tongue and was like, nope, no way. And based on the texture, I knew Andy would not like them. So those were not a win for our family this week. And finally, the last meal of the week, we had hot honey barbecue chicken sandwiches. This is something I made many times in the crock pot and we love. And I originally found this recipe on Instagram, so it'll be linked down below for you guys. So I'm starting off by adding 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar to my crock pot, along with about 1.5 cups of whatever barbecue sauce you want. My bottle was kind of low, so I ended up adding whatever was in the bottle and then added a little bit of water to get everything else out of it. And then I added in a few splashes of Worcestershire sauce, a sprinkle of paprika, some salt and pepper, and 3 tablespoons of hot honey. I have the hot one from Aldi, but you can use Mike's Hot Honey or whatever hot honey you can find. And then I'm going to whisk that together and then add in my chicken. Most of the time when I make this, I use boneless, skinless chicken breasts, but this time I had some chicken thighs, so I decided to use those instead. And I covered them with a little bit of that sauce and then put a lid on this and cooked this on low for about 3 to 4 hours. And then all you have to do is go in and shred it up. Since I was using thighs, it was a little bit less meat than typically when I use chicken breasts, so there was a lot of liquid in there. Usually if you use like 3 to 4 boneless, skinless chicken breasts, it's like the perfect amount of sauce. So I ended up using like a slotted spoon to kind of scoop out the chicken so I didn't end up with too like liquidy of a mixture. And then I like to put this on ciabatta rolls and then top it with some sliced cheddar cheese and then stick this in the oven on like 425 for a couple of minutes. The bread gets toasty and the cheese gets melty, and then we eat these as like open-faced sandwiches. And we had salad on the side, and these are always delicious. Everybody loves them. And that is going to be it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope that y'all got some new meal ideas. If you did, let me know which ones you plan on trying down below. And let me know down below if you tried any new recipes this week that you absolutely loved and would recommend. I'm always looking for new things to try, so let me know down there. And also leave me a smiley face emoji down in the comments if you made it here all the way to the end. I hope you'll have a great rest of your weekend and a great week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!